Thank you, Rab.
Al Kadosh, Boker Tov. We're going to continue on Nun Bet Amud Aleph 52a1. So it says here in the Gemara as follows. It says, we were talking about, are you allowed to come? It says in the bottom of Nun Aleph Amud Bet, Amale Rav Safra le Rabbi Abba, Kagon Ana de Adina Bekvar Diacha, that when we were talking about the Yisur of changing from the minhag of the makom, where a person is, which means that you're not allowed to change from the minhag of the place where you are, says Rav Safra to Rabbi Abba, Kagon Ana, for example, ourselves, that we are experts when is Rosh Chodesh, and we only do 1 day of Yom Tov. So therefore, if we're going to go to a place where they do not do it, and they do 2 days of Yom Tov, so for example, here, you're going to go to the Chutz Haaretz, and they're going to do, so b'yishuv lo avdina, in the place of the yishuv, we're not allowed to come and do any type of work. However, though, why? Because of the machloket, right? But in the midbar, in the desert, my what's halacha? So Amaleh Hachi Amar Rabbi Ami, this is what Rabbi Ami says, b'yishuv asur, b'midbar mutar. So Numbet Amud Aleph on the top. Yeah, so basically like this. If you right now, you do 1 day of Yom Tov, you're from Eretz Yisrael, and now you're going to go to a place where they're not experts in the Kriya Diarcha, which means they're not experts when is Yom Tov. So now, because they're not experts when is Yom Tov, yeah, 1 second. So basically, the Gemara is basically saying that if right now you go to a place where they do 2 days of Yom Tovim, in the city, you cannot start doing 1 day, even though you do know when was Rosh Chodesh, and therefore you do know when is Yom Tov, because of the machloket. But if you're in the desert, meaning you're not in a place where there are people living there, so then you could do 1 day, because this is what you do. You do 1 day of Yom Tov. Yeah, well, again, we're talking about that you're from Eretz Yisrael, you always do 1 day of Yom Tov. You go to a place now where they're doing 2 days of Yom Tov, but they're not experts, but we are already experts. So therefore, they only have to do 1 day. For example, an Israeli, if he comes to here, to America, so he has to do 2 days because he lives with us. But let's say he's in the middle of the desert. He's in Sahara Desert. I don't know where he is. He's in some desert in America. He could do 1 day. He doesn't have to do 2 days. He's not in the Yishuv. He could do whatever he wants. He does 1 day of Yom Tov. Yeah? So Rav Natan Bar Asya azal miber Rav lePumpadita. Rav Natan Bar Asya went from the house of the academy of Rav to Pumpadita. Yom Tov Sheni Shel Atzeret. On Yom Tov Sheni of Atzeret, which means on the 2nd day of Shavuot. Shamte Rav Yosef put in an excommunication. Amale Abaye says, Ulnagde bor negide. Yeah, what? You're going to give him lashes? Yeah? Well, why don't you just give him lashes instead of putting him in Nidui? Yeah? So he says, Amale Adifa Avdele. I gave him a better punishment. Right? Because in Eretz Yisrael, the Beit Din used to come and used to give, right, on the Onesh Malkut, velo mimnu shamta, but they wouldn't, right? They wouldn't put them into nidui, which means Chachmei Eretz Yisrael, they don't want to put Tamidei Chachamim in nidui if they're over on Isur D'Rabbanan, and they prefer to give malkut, right? But nidui is more stricter, so therefore they're choshim mishum kvoda Torah, zilzul kvoda Torah. But be'emet nidui is much more stricter. So therefore, Rav Yosef put him in nidui, and he didn't give him lashes, because nidui is more strict than lashes. Think about it. Lashes, you give the guy lashes once, so now you finished. Yeah, but here nidui is mamash, he's excommunicated. Okay? Ika de Amri, there are those that say, Nagde Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef came and he started giving him, right, lashes. Amale Abaye says, Nesham Temor. Why don't you give him, put him into nidui? That you give them nidui. If somebody is going to be mizalzel on Yom Tov Sheni, you give him nidui, excommunication. So Amalei, he said, Hanimil, one of these words, inish de alma, normal people. But here, Hachatzu b'darbaranu, it's a chacham, the tavale avde, right, that he says that I did good to him, that I made it lighter, his punishment. Marava, mimnu anigdat verav velo mimnu ashamta. Because in Eretz Yisrael, this is exactly what they do. Everyone understood until here? Which means one more time. According to everybody in Eretz Yisrael, they would give lashes and they wouldn't do nidui. According to everybody, nidui is stronger than lashes. Here, the question was, what did he do to this rabbi because he was mizalzel on Yom Tov? Meaning, this rabbi was not mechalel Yom Tov because he lived in Chutz Haaretz and he was mechalel Yom Tov. He lived in Israel. He came to visit to Babylonia. When he came to visit in Babylonia, he started traveling on the 2nd day of Yom Tov. So now what happened? Rav Yosef came, and now there's 2 versions. According to the first version, Rav Yosef put him in nidui. Abaye comes and he says, why are you putting him in nidui? Give him lashes. right? But in Eretz Yisrael, they give lashes. He says, no, I gave him worse than lashes. I was more strict on him. Why? Because that's the way you're supposed to be, right? You have to be more strict. You put him in Nidui. Nidui is stricter than lashes. According to the second explanation, he only gave him lashes. He didn't give him Nidui. So Abaye says, why didn't you give him Nidui? He says, no, I didn't want to give him Nidui because even in Eretz Yisrael, because of Kvod Torah, right, we don't put them Nidui. We just give them lashes. We're lighter on them. So the same thing. He's a Tzur Rabbanan. He's a rabbi. So we're not going to give him, put him in Nidui. We're just going to give him lashes and that's it. Capish? Okay? Fine. So, but anyway, it's very, very important because this is actually brought down Mefurash. But this is not somebody that's Mechalel Yom Tov in Chutz Haaretz. Meaning, we're talking about an Israeli that came to Chutz Haaretz and that's what he did. But if we're talking about a guy from Chutz Haaretz and he does such of these things, ooh, lashes is minimum. Makat mardut, you give him mamash lashes. You know what that is? Yeah, no jokes. Yeah, huh? Kayotzebo. Yeah, just like amolich perot shevit. Nidui, excommunication. No. Excommunication, you leave him in the city. But excommunication, you know what Nidui is? He could go to the shul. They don't count him for minyan. They never give him an aliyah. They don't do business with him. They're not allowed to tell him shalom even. Some people, you have to remember, it's a kavod to get an aliyah. It's very important. Some people, they don't get an aliyah once a month. They come, ooh, you didn't give me an aliyah once a month. It passed a month. Huh? Some of them once a week. It's true. No, he's correct. Some people even once a week. You don't give them an aliyah once a week. Ooh, you've heard it. Yeah. You understand? Fine. Kayotzebo. Hamolich perot shevi'it. Yeah, if somebody's going to come and he's going to start taking for the perot shvi'it, the fruits of shevi'it, of shemitah, from a place where they finished to a place where they didn't finish, or from a place that didn't finish to a place where he's obligated to take it outside of his house. So it says over here like this: Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold that which we learned in the Mishnah. That we're going to give him the chumrot of the place where he came out from there, and the chumrot of the place that he went to there. Which means usually we give them the chumrot of both places, the place where he left and the place where he came in. So Amar Rav Shisha bered Ravidi says Rav Shisha bered Ravidi. Minta achriti kama Rav Yehuda. He's talking about something else. This is what it means to say. O mimakom shelo kalu, makom shelo kalu. From a place where they didn't finish to a place where they didn't finish, right? But if he did find out that they already finished, so then he has to take it out. So if you remember here, we're talking about a case like as follows. Yeah, you're listening. I think you know with me. Yeah, one more time. There's a concept that on Shemitah, everything's hefker, correct? Okay. Everything's hefker. Shemitah, you're not allowed to plant a field, everything's hefker. But you're allowed to bring in the food to your house, which means you're allowed to bring in food to your house in order for you to eat and your animals to eat, right? When are you allowed to do that? Only if outside there's still food. If the food outside gets finished, you have to take your food outside. Because you're only allowed to leave food inside because since there's still food outside and it's Shemitah, everyone's allowed to come and take whatever they want. So therefore you could still leave the food inside for you to eat and for the animals to eat. You're not allowed to sell. Remember, you're not allowed to, we're talking about personal consumption. You're allowed to do that. But the second that it's outside, gone, kalu, chayav levaer. Chayav levaer means you have to take it out of the house. You're obligated to take it outside of the house.
You're not allowed to sell, but you're allowed to consume it.
Of course. And everyone's allowed to consume it. I could go into your field and start eating. I could do whatever I want with it. Everybody could go into your field. It's completely hefker.
So it's only a question of selling properly.
Yes, selling produce. Selling produce. And you're not allowed to plant.
Okay.
You're not allowed to plant, plow, this, that. But the fruit that come out, you're allowed to come in and you're allowed to consume it. You're allowed to eat it.
But the farmer's not allowed to sell.
No, he's not allowed to. For sure not. Yeah? There is a concept nowadays called the ter mechira, which the Rabbanut is lenient on, that they sell it and then they continue, meaning the guy comes and he buys it off them. And then, he's selling all the fruits. It's usually a goy. You understand?
So
Okay.
So they could sell the year of the Shemitah to, let's say, to Turkey, if it's in Israel, to Turkey, to other.
Yeah, to other thing. Again, it's a ter mechira. Not everyone holds of it.
That's
That's a ter mechira. A ter mechira is that they sell it basically to the goy, and then the goy sells all the things in the field, but now they get money from it.
Yeah.
Right? Because they come, if I'm going to pay you for an entire land, a year, so how much do you make a year? 20,000, 30,000, 40, whatever it is, here's the money. So then that's it. It's beautiful. But again, it's a ter mechira. Not everyone holds it. Some people hold it, some people don't. What do you mean he could resell it in Israel? Yeah, that goy can now resell it in Israel, of course.
But if it's a clean slate that you built outside of the country,
Not the Jew cannot benefit of. I own the land. I cannot sell it to Turkey. I'm not allowed to sell those fruits. I'm not allowed to do. I could sell the entire year heter mechira to the goy, and then the goy could do whatever he wants with it. But I have to sell it right before Shemitah. I sell him the land. Yeah, it's like a mechirat chametz, something very similar. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda says, right? Go out and bring the fruits from the exact same place where I brought them. Right? Why? Because all the perot, right? They still didn't finish from there. Which means that it's not considered that you change from the minhag of the city with their fruits at all, because since he's taking the fruits to a place where they still didn't finish, so they could also get fruits. So therefore, there's no problem. Are you going to tell me that Rabbi Yehuda is saying lekula? Which means that you're permitting something which Tanakama, meaning when we come and we have Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on Tanakama. Was Rabbi Yehuda going lechumra or lekula? That's the question. Was he going stringent or lenient? The Amar Rabbi Lazar says Rabbi Lazar, Lo Amar Rabbi Yehuda lechumra. Rabbi Yehuda was only lechumra, not lekula. So says the Gemara, Ela Eipuch. You're right. Eno chayav levaed. The Tanakama said that you're not chayav levaed. And Rabbi Yehuda says, "Seva v'lecha fata me'echadaitinu v'akalulu," that you are chayav levayer. That means you do have to take it outside of your house. Okay. Abaye Amar. Abaye says, "Leolam k'netani." Really, be'emet, don't change the Mishnah. Ve'hachi kamer. This is what it means to say. O mi makom shelo kalu l'makom shekalu, or from a place where they didn't finish to a place where they did finish the fruits. Ve'achzidan l'mkomam, and they put it back into the original place. V'adayin lo kalu, and it still wasn't finished. So eno chayav levayer. So you don't have to take it out of your house. Rabbi Yehuda says, you do have to take it out because it did finish. Okay? Fine. Matkif la Ravashi. Ravashi comes and he asks the following question. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Atu agaba de chamra kaltinu? What? The gav of the chamor that he's carrying the perot to this place, right? It gets the chumrot of that place. That means I don't understand. You put the fruits on the back of the donkey and you start walking the donkey. The back of the chamor, it gets the chumrot of the place of where it's going to. What's going on? Which means it's not mistaber to say that the mitziut of the perot are depending upon exactly where you're going. You understand? It's not mistaber. Right? It's not logical. Right? That means basically, since the fruits didn't grow there, and also you're not going to eat them there, so why all of a sudden you're going to get the chumrot of that place? Imagine right now, right, you're taking fruits from Israel to Turkey. What are you talking about? Yeah? So you're taking the fruits, Israel to Turkey. Where were the fruits grown? Israel. Right? Now you're passing to go to Turkey. You're going to pass, let's pretend that there's a place in between Israel and Turkey. Right? There's no place, no?
yeah, Lebanon.
You have to go through Lebanon to go to Turkey? Okay, I didn't realize. Okay, fine.
By
Right?
ground.
By ground, yeah, by ground. Okay, I didn't realize. I thought you could go straight. Right? I didn't realize.
No, there's no border.
There's no border. Right, it's only Lebanon. Okay, fine. So it's Lebanon and then Syria.
Syria.
Syria. Okay, I didn't realize. I thought there was a little path that you could go straight there. Okay, so let's say you have to go through. So imagine you're going through Lebanon, and now in Lebanon there's no fruits. So says the Gemara, he's obligated to take them off the donkey and to have it there. Why? Because there's no fruits there. So he says, I don't understand you. The chamor gets the chumrot of that place. Saying, Aywa, it wasn't grown in Lebanon. It was grown in Israel. And it's not staying in Lebanon. It's going to Turkey. So for why all of a sudden now does the back of the chamor get the stringencies? So says the Gemara, Ravashi, but rather Ravashi says, Beplukta dani tanai, it's a machloket tanaim. What's a machloket tanaim? The Tanam, as we learned in the Mishnah, hakovesh shlosha kvashin bechavit achat. If somebody's going to come and he's going to conquer 3 different types of vegetables in one basket, which means he's going to be not conquer. Kovesh kvisha is, when you soak it and you pickle it, you're pickling it, right? So you're pickling 3 different vegetables in one bucket, in one barrel, whether of, salt water or a vinegar, in order to watch it, right? In order to save it. Rabbi Eliezer says, Ochlin al rishon, you're going to eat the first one, on the smach, right? He says over here that they didn't finish them in the field. But once they finish that one in the field, right? So you have to take it out. Yeah? So he says, Rabbi Yeshua says, Afal acharon, you could even eat the last one. right? That means even though you already ate the first one and the second one, right? It says they're not considered, right? All three as one. That means basically like this. You pickle them all together. Are they considered one entity, the fact that you pickle them all together or not? If you consider them all together, so then what's going to happen is if one of those species is already finished in the field, all three of them, you have to take it out and to put them in the field. If you're going to tell me that it's separate entities, okay, fine, so just that one, but the other two I could still eat. There's no problem. So Rabbi Gamliel says, yeah, Kol shekala mino min hasadeh, yevaer mino min hachavit. V'alacha kidvarav. Says Rabbi Gamliel, anyone that the species was finished in the field, you have to take it out of the chavit. So whichever one, that means you're only the same, exactly, only same species, only the same one. Yeah, all those things. Yeah, exactly, the exact same. Take the carrots out, but right, but according to the first shita there, you have to take everything out. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, "V'alacha kidvarav." The halacha is like his words, right? Okay, fine. Ravina Amar. Yeah, the halacha is lenient. It's only the same species, right? So if it's the carrots, so this, to that. Yeah, fine. Ravina Amar. Ravina says, "Beplukta dahani tanai." It's in the machloket in these tanaim. The Tanya was learned in a braita. Ochlin batmanin ad sheyichle acharon shebetzoar. You're allowed to eat the dates in all of Eretz Yisrael until the last one, right, is going to be on the last one, which is in Ida Tmarim. Right? That means basically because there's no time of the beauty of the Eretz Yehuda until it's all of the place of Yehuda. Meaning, when do we say that it's going to be finished in the land? It means that it's finished in all of Yehuda. Meaning not only in your field, there's no more dates at all. When there's no more dates at all, now you have to take out your dates. But beforehand, even though there's no more dates in your field, you could still keep it in your house. Rashbag says, yeah, nun bet amubet. Ochlin shel ben akipin, shel ben akipin. You're allowed to eat the dates on the smach of ben akipin, which means that as long as there's still going to be tmanim on the kalim, it's still considered that there's there. Ve'en ochlin al ben hashitzim, but you're not going to do it on between the kotzim, which means because those are not considered, right, found to the wild animals. Right? That means basically because of the kotzim. So basically, it's only considered that they're found there if it's easily accessible. If it's not easily accessible, it's not considered there. Yeah? Tanan Hatam, we learned over there. Shalosh aratzot lebiur. So there's going to be three different types of fields for biur. By the way, these are the three different parts of Israel. Right? Nowadays, Israel is always one land. But basically, Israel was always divided into three. It was divided into Yehuda, Ever Yarden, and the Galil. Yeah? No, you're talking about Shomron because nowadays that's considered, whether it's occupied lands, not occupied lands, it's considered this, that. That's why it's, Yehuda and Shomron. But it was always Yehuda, Ever Yarden, and the Galil. Yeah, the Galil obviously was in the north. Right here, it says here, נחלקו הראשונים עם הכוונה לארץ שבצד המזרחי של ירדן, או עם הכוונה לחלק האמצעי של ארץ ישראל, הנמצא בצד מערבי של ירדן, בין יהודה לגליל. So the whole question, where exactly is עבר הירדן? Okay, fine. ושלוש ארצות בכל אחד ואחד. Now, in each one of these three properties, like in these three counties, or I don't know what you want to call it exactly, there's another three. Yeah? So says the Gemara, "Velama amru shalosh haratzot lebiur." So why did it say that there's three lands for biur? Because there should always be perot shvit in every single one of them until the last one is there, which means that they consider them, right, every single eretz, like one eretz, and in every single eretz they eat the fruits of that ezor until the last one. Okay, so basically what's happening is that, right, the ochlim pri bechol Eretz Yudat sheichla amin ayu mikol shloshet hazorea v'chem bagalil v'chem. That means like this, right? Let's pretend Yehuda, so the land of Yehuda, or Ever Eden, or the Galil. Inside of there, you also have three different counties. So you have like the big, you have, let's say, like Florida, right? And then you have in Florida, you have the counties. You understand? So Florida, right? In Israel, there were three states, if you want to call them: Yehuda, Galil, Ever Yarden. In the states, you had three counties. So says the Gemara, the way that it works is that as long as you still have in one of those counties food, you don't have to take it out of the house. Because as long as you have, let's say I have dates. So as long as you have dates, even though then 2 out of the 3 counties have finished dates, there's no more dates anymore. Doesn't matter. As long as it's all one land to do with the biur, that there's still dates. When it finishes completely, now everyone has to take out the dates from their houses. But as long as there's still dates outside, yeah, they don't need to do that.
So which job is the thing like that?
Taran Hatam, there's a Mishnah over there.
So if in Yehuda there's 3 mini
Each one has
counties,
3 mini counties.
right? If in 2 of them there isn't,
But it's still okay. Because since it's all considered
so
one.
you cannot take out the land.
No, it's not that you cannot. You don't need to. Remember, it's not you cannot. You could always take it out of your house. So you don't need to take it out of your house.
Looking at Yehuda as a whole.
Yes, exactly. Yehuda as a whole, Galil as a whole, and every Eden as a whole. Each one is a whole. So ever since each one is a whole, right, it's all one entity.
It's only if you're in one of the counties and there isn't in this one that you can take them out.
Right. No, we don't do
You
that.
have to look at.
Okay. So says the Gemara, how do we know these words? Yeah. So he says, yeah, how do we know these words? He says, Amar Rav Chama bar Ukva, Amar Rav Yossi bar Chanina. Says here, says Rav Chama bar Ukva, the name of Yossi bar Chanina. Amar Ka, it says in a pasuk, V'livimtecha v'lachaya asher be'atzecha, to the animals and to the wild animals, right, which are in your land. Tiechol tevuot alechol, it should be there. So it's a kesh behemtecha v'lachayot hasadeh. So there's a kesh. You know what a kesh is? Juxtaposition, right? You know what that means? When 2 things are close proximity. You know what that means? When 2 things are close together. Yeah? Okay? So, since it's written velivemtecha to your domesticated animals, velachaya asher be'artzecha, and to the wild animals. So it says, kol zman shechaya ochel min hasadeh, as long as the wild animals are eating from the sadeh, so ha'achel lebehama shebebayit, you could give the animals in your house to eat. But kala lachaya asher be'sadeh, but if there's no more anymore for the wild animals in the fields, kal levemtecha min habayit, you have to take it out of the house anymore. Ugmidim, we have a Kabbalah from our fathers, the en chayash b'Yehuda gedela al perot shebegalil, that the wild animals in Yehuda are not going to be eating from the fruits of the Galil. And the same thing, which means that they don't go from one place to another. Within the same domain, yes, meaning Yehuda, within the same 3, yes, but not from one to another. From Yehuda to Galil, Galil to Yehuda, they don't do that. Okay? Fine. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, perot sheyatzu meretz Yisrael lechutz haaretz, so fruits that came from Eretz Yisrael to chutz haaretz, mitba'arin bechol makom shehen. We don't tell them that they have to actually bring them back to Israel. You take them out wherever they are. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, you have to take them back to Israel, to where they're and take them out. But it says, to be in your land, which means there's a machloket over here, let's say, right? Our good friend Ronen here, he's got a farm in Israel. Yeah, he looks like a farmer, no? Yeah, he's got a farm in Israel. So what happens is he's got all the cheese, the milk, the this, the that. So he's got all the fruits and vegetables, right? The little chickens. Okay, fine. So now what happens is that he takes all the fruit and he says, you know what, I'm going to send it to my in-laws in Montreal. So he comes and he sends them to Montreal. According to the first Shita, all of a sudden, there in Israel, there's no more fruits. So what does he have to do? He has to take it out. So he has to call his father-in-law and say, hey, take it out. Why? You're not allowed to keep it in your house anymore. You have to take it outside. So he takes it outside, and now it's fine. According to the second Shita, which is of Shimon Lazar, you have to transport it back to Israel, and in Israel take it out. It says, why? Because it says in the Pasuk, Asher be'artzecha, in your land. So you have to actually take it back to your land, and there you have to take it out of the house. Not take it out of the house where it is, where the current produce is, which is in Montreal. Big nafkamina. Yeah? So says the Gemara, pikte, right? You already told me be'artzecha, you already used it for another drasha. That you don't connect, right? That every single land is bifnei atzma. That means Yehuda, Galil, and every Eden are different. That means you just use be'artzecha to disconnect the lands between each other. I'm not going to say that they're all the United States of America. I'm going to say there are 3 different states, right? You understand? And that's the way that it is. So says the Gemara, Kari be ba'aretz be'artzecha. He says, no, you can make a drasha of the 2 words which are written ba'aretz and be'artzecha. Because if it was written v'lachaya asher ba'aretz, you could have learned one of those dinim. Now that it said be'artzecha with the extra kaf, now you could learn the 2 different dinim. So you can learn 2 different halachot. Number 1, Yehuda, Galil, and Eretz and every Eden are considered 3 different lands. And number 2, be'artzecha, you have to bring it back to your land and take it out. 2 different halachot you can learn from the same pasuk because of that dirash. Inami, or another answer, me'asher be'artzecha, from the word asher, right? Means not from be'artzecha, but rather from asher be'artzecha. L'chaya asher be'artzecha. But the word asher, that's what we're learning, you have to take it back. Okay? Clear until here or not? Yeah, okay. Fine. Rav Safra nafak meretz Yisrael lechutz haaretz. Rav Safra went out from Eretz Yisrael to chutz haaretz. Hava badeh gar badeh chamer de shvit, and he had barrels of wine of shvit. Lavu badeh, right? So he came with him. Rav Huna bered Ravika Rav Kahana. Amar lehu, and he told them, Ika deshmiya lemined Rabbi Avu. Did you ever hear anything of Rabbi Avu? If the halacha is Shimon and Lazar or no, is the halacha Shimon and Lazar no? But remember, according to Shimon and Lazar, you have to take the barrels back to Israel and take it out in Israel. According to the other opinion, it's much easier. Because imagine right now, it's during Shemitah and you sent out the barrels. You know what it is to transport it back? Sometimes the transport, just bringing it back, it's not worth it. He says, so here, mamash, you have to bring it back and take it out. Yeah, well, you're not allowed to. That's the thing. You would have to actually physically bring it back. So Amal Rav Kahana says, Hachi Amar Rabbi Avu. This is what Rabbi Avu says. Halakha ke Shimon Lazar. The halakha is like Shimon Lazar. You have to bring it back. Amal Rav Vika. Sorry, Amar Rabbi Avu says Rabbi Avu. En halakha ke Shimon Lazar. So you have a machloket, right? Rav Kahana said to Rav Safra that this is what Rabbi Avu says that halakha ke Shimon Lazar. So Rav Huna Rav Vika says no. Rabbi Avu says that halakha is not like Shimon Lazar. So Amar Rav Safra nekota iklala de Rav Huna biyadecha. Take this klal in your hands. That means basically take the klal of Rav Huna ben Ravika in your hands. Why? Right? So listen, Rav Kahana tells Rav Safra. Rav Safra says always take the words of Rav Huna ben Ravika more. Why? His derech is to be medaktek in the limud of his rabbi. Right? Very, very precise. Just like in the medaktek rachva ben pubadita b'shuato. That means he's very, very precise in everything. Meaning very accurate. He's pinpoint. He's a sharpshooter. Which means, if he told you this, that's what it is. Okay? You're with me or not? Fine. So says the Gemara. Yeah, as follows. The Amar Rachva Amar Rabbi Yehuda says Rachva the name of Rabbi Yehuda. Harabait stav kaful haya stav lifnim mistav. There were two shurot of itztabeot, right, which used to be makifot at Harabait lifnim mechomotav. Shura betok shura. Hatam shamar Rachva zu b'shem Rabbi Yehuda is because it was misupak if it came from Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, and therefore he said Rabbi Yehuda, which that's right, which that could have been on both of them, right? So Rachva was very midaktek and shmotav ledat mimi shomam. To know who, meaning that sometimes people come and say, I heard it from somebody, but I don't remember from whom. No. He knew exactly who did he hear it from. And if it was something that was a doubt, he would express it to mean that he's not sure which one. But that means he's very, very precise to know, who said what, as they say.
What's the shurot?
The shurot was a shura betoch shura. One shura and another shura. They're like a line, yeah.
Like a corridor or something?
No, but here what happened is that it says over here, we're talking about it's tabeot, right? That they used to be makif, the harabait, which means that they used to be on the inside of harabait. It says over here, Yud Gimel Amud Bet Hara 4. Gimel Amud Bet Hara 4. Yud Gimel Amud Bet. It's tabeot are amudim nemuchim verechavim. So it was like round benches. Yeah. היו נמצאות במקומות ציבוריים רבים, כולל הר הבית. אז שורה של אצבעות כאלה, או רחבה שכפה על אצבעות כאלה, הייתה נקרא סתיו. סתיו comes from Greek, which means that it's מכוסה, מוגבה ומכוסה. Fine, let's go. So says the Gemara, Kari alav Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef went and he called on Rav Safra. Ami be'etzo yishal umaklo yagid lo. What does that mean? Umaklo yagid lo, kol hamekel lo, magid lo. Which means it was like giving him a hint of kol hamekel lo, magid lo, hasmacha, askama lidvarav. What does this mean? Here we're talking about that Am Yisrael was going after the maklot, right? After the ksamim that was done through the makel, or after Nevi'ah Sheker. Rabbi Yosef is saying we're talking about netiyat adam laskim ladat mi shemekel lo. Are you listening? This is a pasuk. Kol hamekel lo magid lo. I just heard this 2 days ago. I think it was. No, it was yesterday. I just heard somebody saying it was in the shiur of 9 o'clock that somebody comes and he says, I go like the lenient opinion. I like that opinion. That one's yeah. So he comes, he says that. So that's what he just says right here. He says, Kol hamekel lo magid lo. Anybody that's mekel for him, he tells him, he agrees to him. You understand? I mean, sometimes I'm going to come and I'm going to give you a stringency. Nah, Rabbi, you're too extreme, fanatic. What's going on? All of a sudden I hear leniency. I agree to that. That I agree to. You understand? That's good. That's good. Right? Kol hamekel lo magid lo. Gemara mefurashet. Kol hamekel lo magid lo. Yeah. Fine. Rabbi Eli cuts kifanyata de shvit. So it says here, Rabbi Eli, he went and he was cutting tmarim, small dates of shvit. So how do you do that? You're not allowed to do this. So he says, right? So how did Rabbi Eli do it? Why? Because it only says le'ochla, you're allowed to eat it, but you're not allowed to make it loose, which means, right, that the perot shvit is only for achila, but not that you're allowed to make them, to destroy them in your hands. Now, when do we say this? Maybe you're going to say one of these words, if it's going to be considered a fruit, but if it's not considered a fruit, then there's no isur, and these tzmanim are so ktanim, so you could do this. These small dates of orla are prohibited midin orla because they became shomer to the fruits itself. Shomer lepri ematava. When do they become a shomer lepri? Bekufre, right? He says when they're still very, very small. It's still considered a fruit, which means that when you have a shomer to the pri, which is like a watch, a safeguard on the fruits, so then that's what's going to make it a asur as well. So here also, this is orla. Orla, right? If you have the shomer to the orla, even this is called a shomer. So therefore, the question is, right, what's going on? At the end of the day, this should be prohibited for him to do it. It's already considered a pri, so he can't destroy it with his hands. He could eat it, but he can't destroy it with his hands. So says the Gemara, Rav Nachman da'amar Rabbi Yosef. Rav Nachman holds like Rabbi Yosef. The Tanam is learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yosef says, Simadar is asur. Mipnei shehu peireh. So simadar is going to be asur because of orla, because it's considered a fruit. The rabbis actually argue on him, right? They argue on Rabbi Yosef. Fine. So matkifla Rav Shimi Minarda comes and he asks the following question: Does the Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Yosef and other trees? But now we learned in the Mishnah. From when do we not cut the ilanot on Shvit? It means from when do we stop cutting the trees and everything on Shemitah? So Bet Shammai say, all the ilanot, once they come and they start taking out fruits, you're not allowed to cut them. Right? That means once you see the fruit, you're not allowed to cut it down. Bet Hillel says, right, acharuvin mishir shashru. Right? The charuvin, which are the charuv. How do you say charuv in? No, but in English. You know what the charuvin is? Charuvin is the hard, it's like, yeah, exactly, the hard, like banana type of things, like very, very skinny, black.
You sure it's carob? No?
Carob? Yeah, carob. How do you say that?
Carob.
Yeah, carob, that's how you say it.
Carob trees.
Carobs, yeah, carobs. Okay, so you're right. You had it there in English. I apologize. Oh, okay, fine. I didn't know it was also called like that in English. Carobs. So carobs. Fine. So it says over here, yeah. So what's going on? He says, the charuvin is mishishashru. So once they have that, you could see the sharshiraot of the charuvin, which means you could see like the necklaces of these carobs. Hagifanim, the grapes, right? You're not allowed to do it ever since. Mishigareu, right? What does that mean? From the anavim, they become a little bit bigger. So that's what's called girua. That it gets like to small beans. Okay? Zaitim, the olives. Mishianetsu. What does that mean? Mishigdala netz al gaber zaitim. Netz bezait ukem mitchele betmanim. It's something which like covers the olives when it's very small. So it's like shomer on it. Ushar kol ha'inlanot, all the other fruits of the trees, all the other trees, mishiyotziu, once it starts taking out the fruits. The Amar Ravasi says, Ravasi, uboser ugiru upul levan. It's all the same thing. Boser, girua, pul levan. It's all the exact same shiur that it's like it becomes like a small bean. Pul levan sakad. Do you really think it's like a bean? Elaim, but rather shiuro kapul levan. It's like a pul levan. It's not a mamash. It's a pul levan. Because pul levan is mamash like a type of kidniyot, of a type of beans. So man shama le de Amar boser in. We're on Gimel Amud Aleph, yeah. Everyone, you want to go until the Mishnah on the bottom?
Let's go.
Yeah? Okay, so we're going to try to do the Mishnah to the bottom. And then tomorrow, because anyway, tomorrow's a long daf anyway. Ooh, and the day afterwards also. So, okay, we have to do it anyway. Okay, so we'll do minimum until the Mishnah on the bottom. Yeah? So says the Gemara, yeah, he says like this. He says, Uman shamale damar boser in smadallo. So who's the one that said boser is a problem, but smadar is not a problem? Boser, remember, smadar and boser, they're all different forms of when it's ripened or not, when it's mevushal or not, right? Yeah, that's how they say it in English. Okay, Rabbanan, according to the rabbis, it's the rabbis that say this, which means Rabbanan that are arguing in Rabbi Yosef and the Mishnah and Orla, they hold that smadar is mutar because of Orla, because it's not considered a fruit. So it comes out that according to Bet Hillel, when they say me'ematai kotzitzin, that when are you allowed to do this kotzitzin and everything, Chachamim they argue. Uktani, and we learned, shakol ha'yilanot, all the rest of the yilanot, mishiyotziu, right? Once they took out the perot, there's a way that it is. So it says ela, but rather bilai b'nische katz. He's talking about samarim of a dekel zachar, which means he was cutting down the dekel that they had tamriku finata, and these they don't grow so much, right? And they're not mevashlim b'dekel leolam. So because of that, since anyway these are not going to become very very good, so therefore there's no isur of ifsed perot shvit. But anyway, they come from a male tree, so it's not like the female tree that's coming out very, very good and big. And there's so anyway, they cut it down. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Ochlim ba'anavim ad sheyichlu daliot shel ochel. You're allowed to eat of the grapes which are in your house until the grapes on the gifanim in a place which is called ochel is going to finish. What is this place of ochel? It was makom shel gidul kramim. It was a certain place called ochel. And if there are certain ones that are going to take place later on, you could eat on them. You're allowed to eat in the zitim until the last place where it's called bitkoa. Right? In bitkoa, there was the last place where they grew the olives. Another place. Right? Of the place called gush chalav. Rova. In order that a poor person will not be able to go out, and he's not going to be able to find none on the bottom or not the yikar of the tree, none on the branches, nowhere of the tree, a rova of zaitim. Ochlim begrogerot, you're allowed to eat in the dried figs, ad shichlu page beteni, until all the figs are going to be finished in this place called betini. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda says, Luis page betini, maaser. That's only to do with maaser. But they're obligated in maaser. So again, what we're talking about is, are you with me?
Yeah.
The concept is basically, until when am I allowed to keep the things in my house and there's no problem with shemitah? Yeah, or when do I have to be mevayer me'abayit? I have to take it out of the house, right? That's the question. So here we're saying, as long as there's still something on the outside, it's still going to be okay. Okay? You're allowed to eat the dates until there's the last ones in Tzoar. Rashbag says, right? Only the ones which are found all over the place between the dekalim, but not between the thorns. Remember, between the thorns, no, because then the wild animals cannot get to it. And if the wild animals cannot get to it, we said it doesn't count. It has to be that everyone is able to have easy access to these dates. If it's only between thorns that you could get those dates, it's not considered that it's there. You would have to take out yours from the house. Or meaning we have a contradiction. The Pesach, you're allowed to eat the grapes until Pesach. The olives until Shavuot. Grogerot until Chanukah. The dried figs until Chanukah. But the Purim, the dates until Purim. The Amar of Bevai says, Rabbi Yochanan tarti b'traita machlif. Rabbi Yochanan used to switch the last two. That he used to say the Grogerot until Purim and the Tmarim until Chanukah. Okay, but everything else was the same. So answers the Gemara, it's all the same shiur. Meaning, even though here we gave you the times according to the times of the year, meaning the Chagim, Pesach, Shavuot, Chanukah, things like that, and the other one he was giving it to you not from the Chagim, but rather until when was the last time that there's figs in this place, or last time there's olives in this place, it's all the same shiur. If you can answer, we taught him mefurash. If there's going to be places where there's still going to be things left over, you could continue eating in your house because of it. Because you could continue on that smach that it's still outside. So Tanya, we learned to write that Rashba Gomer Shimon Gamliel says, Siman leharim milin. So in the mountains, right, the gilut is in the mountains, they're going to get all these types of dalon or whatever it is. They're going to grow very well in the mountains. But other types of trees, they don't grow well in the mountains. Siman lamakim, how do you know if something's an emek, a valley? Dekalim, palm trees. Because palm trees, they grow very well, right, in the valleys. Siman lenechalim, how do we know that it's like how do you call it? The streams, no? Streams, right? The streams are kanim. What is kanim exactly? The reeds. Siman leshfela, right? This is like a plains. Shikma. Shikma is the sycamore? Sycamore. And even though there's no proof to this, there's a hint to this. Right? Siman le'arim milim v'siman lamakim dekalim nafkamina lebikurim. It's all the nafkamina to do with bikurim. The Tanam, as we learned in the Mishnah, and mevi'in bikurim l'ashiyat aminin. You're only allowed to bring bikurim from the 7 species of Eretz Yisrael. That's when you bring bikurim. Remember, bikurim is the first fruits. So the first fruits is only from the fruits of Israel. Velomi dekalim shebarim, and you're not going to bring it from the palm trees in the mountains, right? Velo perot shebamakim, and not from fruits, the grains, right, in the amakim, because it's not good. So according to him, he's saying if it's not going to be a good produce, you don't bring it as bikurim. Siman lenechalim kanim, nafkamina lenachaletan. What is the siman of nechalim, of the streams of the reeds? Nafkamina to nachaletan, because that's where you do the eglarufa. So Rashbag is teaching us that you have to do the eglarufa davka and nachal, that they have reeds growing there. Because if it's not going to have reeds growing there, it's not considered a nachal. Okay? Siman l'shvela shikma. Why do I need to know the siman for the plains, the sycamore? Nafkamin lemekach, when you're buying and selling, right? Which you have to know, right? That basically it says it has to, if you're selling right now sycamore, it has to come from this place of the shikma, has to come from the shvela in order to be considered a sycamore. So now that we said this, also all the other ones are also nafkamina for buying and selling. Because the other ones also, there's going to be a nafkamina that if you're buying and selling, so if I'm going to sell you dates or like a palm tree, it has to be a palm tree that comes from the harim, the mountains, right? Or things like that. And it continue going. Tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem, we continue from the Mishnah.